Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ, presented by Papa John's, getting ready for Week 7 in college football. Hard to believe we're already at Week 7. Big Ten ranked games, we only have 2 of them. Ranked v. ranked, number 10 Penn State on the road against Michigan. They're both teams going into that one undefeated. And number 24 Illinois, 6.5-point dog at home against Minnesota. Welcome back in, Brady, Quinn, Danny Kanell. I'm Amanda Guerra. So we got number 10 Penn State at number 5 Michigan. As I mentioned, both of these teams undefeated. Penn State coming off a bye week here, a little rested here. Michigan coming off its road win against Indiana. Brady, you're at that game. You're going to be at this one here. Michigan favored by 6.5. What do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting line because I feel like it's bigger than maybe how these two teams portray themselves. I mean, Penn State, first off, coming off a bye, you know they're going to be prepared for this one. But I think the bigger concern for me is when you go back and watch the film of J.J. McCarthy, it was his best performance of the season through the air. However, we're still not seeing the downfield passing game really hit home. That was something where when you look at the first few weeks, lesser opponents, he was phenomenal. Since that point, once they started playing Big Ten ball against Maryland and started working through the schedule, he's had a harder time really connecting down the field. And I think teams are going to start loading up the box, in particular Penn State, to stop the rushing attack with Blake Corum and try to force things to go through the air. And we'll see if Michigan can adjust to that so far. But this Penn State team is going to be well rested. Look, they're one of the better defensive teams in the Big Ten. They've got a rushing attack with 2 backs in the backfield. Obviously, Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, their freshmen, are outstanding. In this one, though, this team's been battle-tested on the road, too, this year. Nice win over Purdue to start the season. They're right in the mix there in the Big Ten West. And then Auburn as well. I know that team hasn't played as well. Still a tough place to win in Jordan Harris. So I'm going to take the 6.5 points here in Penn State. I think this one stays close, maybe a lower scoring game, Danny.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, especially with Penn State's rush defense being the second best in the Big Ten, I think they'll have some success shutting down Blake Corum. But I do think this could be J.J. McCarthy's moment. I think he is getting more comfortable in this system. We have to remember he hasn't started many games as the guy for the Michigan Wolverines. And I think once he's put in that spot, he's been okay moving the ball downfield, and he'll have to make the most of those opportunities. This about me is about Michigan coming back home to play at the Big House and being comfortable. And I know the last week was a little bit tighter than you would want. It was 10-10 at halftime against Indiana. You had the condition with Mike Hart, their running back coach, who was a father figure to a lot of those players. There were players hugging and in tears when they saw him taking off that ambulance. I thought that was a massive, you hate to put somebody's health as a perspective of distraction, because obviously you want to make sure that Mike Hart's okay. But I do think that was something the players had to deal with emotionally, and they were able to get past that. Now that it looks like Mike Hart's out of the woods and he should be okay, I think Michigan actually goes out there, plays more inspired, and gets the win at home. Sean Clifford has been nice for Penn State, but I just have a hard time picturing him going against this Michigan team and getting a win against this quality of an opponent. You mentioned, I feel like he was on the verge of losing his job because the Purdue game was so bad, and then he had that nice game-winning drive, which kind of took all the critics off his back. So I'm very curious to see how he performs in this moment. Till I see it, I'll go ahead and take Michigan and lay the points.
I think that it has much to do about really the recruiting rankings of the 5-star backup that was coming in behind him than anything else. And don't get me wrong, if Sean Clifford goes down, Penn State still has a shot because of that. But the reality is, in this matchup, this to me is all that experience of a guy who's been there in the big games before on the road. And much like he did in West Lafayette, driving down the field for the game-winning touchdown. I think this game could be one of those scenarios where you see a tight game and one where Sean Clifford has to do that in the Big House.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.